Yo, what's up, gamer? Have you ever wanted to get good at slapping psychopaths with a stick and chugging G Fuel to celebrate? Does the thought of monotonously circling a pal at a window for 6 years seem stale and uncreative? If you answered yes to these questions, let me introduce you to Home Sweet Home Survive, where instead of looping pallets and windows, you literally have dozens of ways to interact with the killer. You can slam doors on their face, hit them with a stick, block the way they're trying to go with floating Kool-Aid, and so much more. Interested? I hope so, because I'm going to stop being cringe right now. So welcome to the ultimate Home Sweet Home Survive tutorial, where I will be teaching you everything you need to know about this game in order to get almost as addicted to it as I am. If you've heard about this game from DBD content creators or at any time in the past year and a half, I want you to take everything you've heard about it and throw it out the window, because there is so much that has changed. So without further ado, let's teach you all about Home Sweet Home and how to get you into the game and start it off right. So the first thing we're going to go over are the basics. So for example, we're going to go over the objective, how to do it, how the perk system works, and many other important starter tips to get you into the game. Then we're going to go over the ping system, which is the communication system that you have between each of the survivors in the game. Then we're going to go over the maps and talk about how the maps generate and what their resources are. Then we're going to go over items. We'll give examples of each one and how to use them properly. Then with this knowledge, we'll discuss how to properly go about the early game for both killer and survivor, or in this game's case, visitors and wardens. And then lastly, we'll tie all of this information together and teach you how to properly conduct your chase, what mindset to be in chase, and how to efficiently use all your resources to your advantage regardless of what role you're playing. The objective in Home Sweet Home Survive is to find the ritual items, perform 3 of the 4 rituals, escape through the portals, or eliminate the warden in order to successfully survive. And the warden's objective is to eliminate all the visitors, no matter the cost. You can prepare the rituals to do the objective by finding the items in these golden chests. There are 4 rituals, and therefore there are 4 ritual chests. Once the chest is open, you grab the ritual item and you take it over to ritual to prepare it. Once the ritual is prepared, you're able to stand in front of the ritual and progress it. Once the rituals are complete, 1 door will spawn at a time every 30 seconds up to a maximum of 5 doors. And when you're near a door, you can hear an ambient noise, so stay tuned for that when you're nearby. It's also possible to band together to fight the warden, and you must work as a team to do so, because it is extremely hard to do. I will be making a video on how to do so in the future, and of course how to defend against it as the warden. So if you'd like to cat kiss that sub button so you don't miss out on it, please feel free to do so right now. Alright, so let's start going over the basics. Alright, I'm literally ripping and flipping this one right out of the in-game guide. We have full health, injured. The score right here means they've gone down once. Then they have dead and soul timer. So in Home Sweet Home, the survivors need to take 4 hits before they can go down, and when they go down, they drop their soul. Someone has 2 minutes to pick up the teammate's soul and revive their teammate. And if you pick up the teammate's soul, their timer is paused, so the killer can sit there and camp them for about 2 minutes, but if you grab the soul, and you can end up looping the killer and losing them, they'll have wasted all that time and the player will not have died once you get them revived. And when you go to revive them, you have to run to one of these little babies on the ground, I guess, and revive them at that station, and then when they come back up, they'll be at half health, and they'll have a bubble around them so the killer can't just immediately hit them. Alright, stay with me, we're almost done looking at a piece of paper. Last thing we gotta go over is the green icon right here is the ritual being completed. The yellow one means it has been prepared with the ritual item, and red means it needs a ritual item. In Home Sweet Home, the killer can see the exact location of all the rituals and whether they've been prepped or not. If they haven't been prepped, they show up in white. If they have, they're yellow. Visitors receive skill checks when working on chests and rituals, so pay attention to these warning signs for if they miss one of those skill checks, you know exactly where they're at. You can tell where survivors are running with the trail that they leave as they run. In the end game, the killer can see all door locations, and if there's only 1 survivor alive, the door will start peering open for them slowly, but only 1 will peer open at random. So you must make sure that if you're chasing the last survivor to be careful, and one of the doors might be open. When you make it to the end game, the survivors will start being able to deal damage to you with their items. And it's very important to manage your health throughout this fight. If you manage to fully kill and execute a survivor, you'll heal for a decent amount of HP and be immune during the execute animation. Also, quick tip, the execute animation is useless throughout the entire match until the end game because of the heal, unless you have perks. Alright, before we get into the amazing part of this game that is the ping system, where you can communicate with your team, let's go over the starter perks for each role. So I recommend for starting off on Survivor, you want to use Adrenaline because it makes you run few units faster for 3 seconds after getting hit, and the other one, watch your back, because default in this game you can't actually look behind you while you're working on the objective, so watch your back allows you to do so. It just makes it easier. And for a good killer starter perk, I recommend Helmet. It gives you a 33% chance to resist stuns, and Poltergeist, which allows you to break through walls by using your immunity ability, which every killer has. We'll go over why this is extremely helpful later. Each character actually has their own specific perk that's locked to that character, as well as some different stats, so some of them have have higher HP than others, some of them have more expertise, which just makes them do rituals faster, and some of them have higher perk cost totals. So the perks in this game have like a strength rating. Some of them have 3 costs, 2 costs, and a 1 cost. And some characters have like 5 or 6 available costs for perks. It just depends on how strong their character specific perk is. I personally love this system because it kind of removes the whole, oh, everyone run the strongest perks vibe. So at least there's some perk diversity. I love that. For a starting character, I highly recommend Jane. Her active ability allows you to revive yourself after 90 seconds if your soul is never picked up. And then if they do get your soul and revive you, revive at full HP. This is helpful when you're new because you're probably going to be taking hits a lot more than normal. So it's going to be nice to have extra health. When it comes to Warden, I highly recommend Belle. Her character specific perks allow her to teleport directly onto survivors she's facing, and if she's not facing any of them, she teleports randomly. This thing also has a 70-second cooldown, so it's really long cooldown, but it gives you like free chances to get immediately into chase and get some free hits. The blood trail allows her to seek out survivors anywhere nearby, and she kind of gets a blood seek a lot faster with her passive perk, which is basically the equivalent of bloodlust in this game. Okay, let's get into the ping system. I freaking love the ping system in this game. Let's go. So in this game, there are 2 different ping systems. One of them is the sticker wheel, which has a lot of diverse options, but the 4 most important ones, in my opinion, that you should bind to the first 4 numbers on your wheel are cover me, run, me decoy, and got key item. We'll go over that reasons why in just a second. For the most important ping, and that's the killer ping. So if you see while I'm running here, I'm pressing the killer ping on the ground. I'm putting me decoy as my sticker. So that way my team knows I'm in chase and where it's at. And when I run away and I see the killer's gone, I press run and I ping where the killer last was so they know where the killer's coming from. Another important way to ping is using your spacebar or middle mouse button to ping any item and any ritual and any ritual chest or anything like that in the game. So what I'm doing in this clip, you can see I ping the ritual chest that I saw from across the map for my team to go find, and I'm going to go do another one. In this clip, I had pinged a ritual a long time ago for my teammate to go find. You can see right here, he actually ends up finding it while I'm working on another ritual chest. Now, once you found a ritual item and you're not sure where a ritual is, ping to your team and tell them I got key items so they can start pinging rituals for you, and that way you can help find them easier. Then, once you finally start working on a ritual, be sure to ping it and say cover me so they know who's working on the ritual and where. And every now and then throughout your ritual progress, try to ping it again because the ping actually shows how much progress you have on the ritual when you ping it. And now, just before we move on to items, I want to talk about the fact that you can also ping the item. So when you find a useful item like a healing needle, feel free to ping that and drop it somewhere where everyone can see so people will know where it's at. Another quick tip, you can only have 1 ping lingering on the map at a time. And so make sure that whatever you ping is the most important thing that you want your team to know. Alright, let's talk about the maps and their resources, which by the way, have no map RNG, so these resources will always show up in the same place every time. Each map has multiple locations where you have these drop downs right here. You can see marked by those yellow lines. Whenever a survivor uses a drop down, it takes up a charge. When you use the drop down though, the survivor has less stagger than the killer, so it gives you some free distance, so you can use that, but be wise when you want to use it and how you use it, because if you use it too often, it'll block. Another resource you have is pots, and when you use a pot, it transports you almost immediately to another location, but once you use, it has a cooldown. Some of the resources on the map, like these pots here, are rather close together, so there are actual right and wrong ways to go about using them. The proper way to go about looping these is to make sure the killer's not in the middle of the path between the 2 pots, so that way you have enough distance to be able to keep running after you use it and use another option on the map. Here's an example of them being on the way to the next pot already, so when I take this pot, they're able to react and go to the other end and hit me before I have any chance to get any distance off that, so that would be an incorrect way to use it. Most often around the map, you have a lot of doors that you can use to close on the killer and force them to stand still and break it, as well as these holes in the wall that you can crawl through by holding crouch. And lastly, the other most common resource is vents, and they work just like pots. They take you from one location to the other, but be careful because there are bad ways to take these as well. Alright, and now on to the best thing about this game, and that is the items. I want to start this segment off by letting you know that if you look at the items, you can actually read what the item does in game, so if you don't remember everything, you can always check by doing that when you get into a match. First item we have up is the Rattan, which has a 1-second stun. Good tip for using this is to hide around a corner where they can't see you and pre-swing the corner and hit them with it as they come by. And no items work when the killer has their shield up, so if you go for the swing, pop their shield up, then it's not going to stun them. Here's an example again where I use the Rattan. I run around the corner, they don't think I'm going to come get the stun, surprise them with the stun, and get my free distance. Next item we have is the string trap. Whenever you place it in specific doorways that you can place it in, and the killer runs through it without using the shield, they get stunned and their aura is revealed to everyone. Next up we have a sigil, which creates a temporary wall in the same places you can put string traps at, and then the killer cannot pass through it. A few good tips for the sigil and string trap: if you hold them up, you can see highlighted borders and doorways where you can place them. If you have string traps, I'd recommend setting them up when you're not in chase because they take a while to set up. If you have sigils, try dropping them right in these doorways so you can pick them up from either direction and use them. Alright, next up we have holy water, which is a ranged item that progressively blinds the killer. If you land 3 charges of holy water on the killer, it'll fully blind them. Pretty easy for the killer to dodge the holy water, so make sure you only try to use it in thin hallways so it's a lot easier for you to hit them. Next up we have the energy drink. This item is pretty versatile. It just gives you a quick movement speed boost for a couple seconds. You can use this to get just the extra bit of distance you need to use other loop options on the map, and that might be the difference in life or death. So we have my favorite item, Holy Rice. This silences the killer's abilities so they cannot use shield or their teleport or whatever ability they might have to counter you in certain situations. Favorite use of this item is to silence them before drop downs so they can't teleport or grab me from the top of the drop downs with some of their abilities. Last couple of items that I don't have footage for are healing items, which heal you, and then the chaplet, which does damage in the late game. Alright, and now on to the early game. When it comes to the early game, the most important thing for the visitors to do is to open as many doors near their spawn as humanly possible. And if you're the warden, your objective is to break as many holes and walls as you can in the area so that the survivors can't set them up. After the door phase, make sure you start getting some items and spreading out items around the map for your loops. And while you're doing that, ping ritual items, grab a couple ritual items, and only do this for maybe a few boxes, and then you really want to start prioritizing setting up rituals. That way you have multiple rituals to work on and multiple options to loop with. It's absolutely imperative that you try to learn all the ritual box spawns in the map as soon as possible when you first get into the game, because it greatly speeds up your early game as survivor, and it helps you patrol the early game boxes as killer to slow down their progression in the start. And now for my absolute favorite thing about this game, and that is the chase, because the chases in this game are much more complex and intricate and enjoyable and creative, and I'm just so excited to tell you about it. Chases in this game are very intricate. You have multiple options at your disposal, and a lot of it has to do with the way you've set up your loop beforehand, as well as some of the resources you saved at the start of the match. So it's important throughout the match to set up your loops, set up loops for your teammates, and try and pay good attention to what areas have resources and don't, so that way as you're going about playing the match, you can set up resources in those areas. It's important in this game to envision distance equals time alive. So the further you are from the killer, the more time you are alive, right? So anything you can do in this game to maximize the distance you use is absolutely imperative. You need to treat each item and its utility as a way to gain distance in a chase, and therefore a little bit more time in the chase alive. Also, make sure to path very efficiently and take the shortest routes to your options. So if you're trying to run to a door, take a straight line to that door. If you have to go around a corner to get to that door, hug the corner to get to that door. Same thing with your resources for your items. I want you to pay attention how after each rattan stun that I get on the killer, I run a straight line away from them to the next place I want to go to. I run a perfect line from that doorway to this one. I see the aura with my perk that there's an item nearby that I can grab and put a wall between the two of us. I grab it and immediately place it into the door and get more distance from the killer. Just like in DBD, if the killer doesn't get a hit on you for a while, they build up some movement speed, so it's important to try to use other resources on the map that may not be so risky, like doors, and close them in between you and the killer so you get free distance that way. As Warden, it's important to use your abilities as efficiently as possible. Every Warden has an immunity shield that lasts 5 seconds with a 15-second cooldown, so here I start using it to run through the string trap. Then the visitor puts a sigil down and teabags me, wasting a little bit of distance, fortunately. And then as I catch up to them, the string trap is in another doorway, so I use the teleport button to go through that, right back onto the survivor, and I built up a lot of bloodlust after a while, so I'm able to get a hit here, and now I'm following behind them, and they're pathing a little bit less efficiently. They picked up a rattan, so I decided to shield around the corner since that's when survivors like to use rattans, and by the time I get close to him, he can't stun me while their shield's up, so I get a free hit again. There's another moment where I catch the survivor in a dead zone trying to throw rice at me, and he picks up a rattan, but unfortunately for him, I'm able to catch up to him with my shield up before he can stun me, and ultimately that ends in him dying. Thank you so much for watching. That is the end of the tutorial. Now, please, before you leave, just give the video a like, comment something nice down below. This video took me about 40 hours in total to make. I put my heart into this video. I really care about this game. I just think it's just strictly the better version of Dead by Daylight. I say this as somebody with 4,000 hours in DBD, 2.5 years of coaching DBD, as well as playing that game since its beta, and I come onto this game after a year after its release, and it's just got so much good going for it. It's actually just so fun. I really hope this guide convinces you just how fun this game is, and to give it a chance. It's literally only $7, so get the game and come and join the servers with us, dude. It's so fun here.